Yeah, Coach, just what are some of the keys as you all get ready for the Saints and their situations
Sure.
with the injuries in the quarterback and,
Yeah,
and so forth.
I know it's unfortunate. Football. It's what you talk a lot about in the preseason, and you're not just using coaching cliches. Like you need depth, you got to develop, you got to build it. Um, Nobody wants to see it. People that are injured, but unfortunately, that's what it happens in the NFL, and every team's got to deal with something, right? So um, they got a good staff, good team. I'm sure that they had 2 weeks to prepare, just like we have, and so I'm sure there'll be a couple new wrinkles, and we got to be ready to go because it's a huge game for us. Where we're at, right? Well, going into the final stretch of the season with everything to play for, division rival, be an awesome atmosphere. So we're excited to be a part of it.
And offensively, I was going back over the notes. It was personnel, schematic, logistical things
Sure.
to tighten things up
Yeah.
offensively. Um, uh, is it just counting on people doing more or people doing better?
Both. But that's something you look at. You need to be doing all the time. Obviously, it becomes more glaring when you don't get the results that you look for. And I've said it a bunch. You get in some of these close games. Say you make the play at the end, but if you don't go in there and fix some things, what will always happen in this league? It's why it's the greatest league in pro sports is. Yeah, it may on the outside look like, hey, everything's good, everybody feels good because you won, but you may have a glaring issue, it's going to get exposed. And if you're not objective about that and you're not constantly looking to improve, starting with yourself first, it'll catch you. So you can't cheat the game, and that's what happens through a 17-game season. It's as you go through your ups and downs. We've certainly need to get back on the winning track, and we're thankful, pun intended, Thanksgiving, that we got an opportunity to go play and get the division lead, doing with the final stretch to go.
In terms of Taylor and Mack, I know that those are, I think, the two guys.
Yeah, they'll be limited today.
What?
Those guys will be out there. They'll be limited.
They'll be limited?
Yeah, just kind of have to see, but that's encouraging. At least they'll be out there.
In terms of how Desmond has handled the last couple of days,
Mm-hmm.
yesterday and off day, have you seen any difference now that he's once again, that he's back in this role after having a couple weeks?
Yeah, I think you certainly do. I think in perspective. It's the same thing when you get away, and I think the easiest thing to do is to be pessimistic about things, right? And so if you look at something it's some catastrophic event and you don't handle it well, you come back, it's the same thing. And coaching, you can certainly lean into, like I get up here right now and I could list all the things we got to work on and, sound, like a football coach, and you're sitting there doing that and you're being practical, and then you're also not looking at some of the other things that are going well, or you're not actually perspective about being thankful that you got the opportunity that you get to do this. And so I think that's his perspective has been, again, I hate speaking for him, and you can ask Des, obviously you guys you'll talk to him, but that's, I think looking at him again, I feel very, very good about where he's at. I think it's, again, he handled it well, which is not an easy situation to do, and I think his best football is at him.
You mentioned a couple of times his response to this and the way he's carried himself is the reason you wanted him out of Cincinnati, the reason
Yeah.
you loved him, I think you said. Was there a moment in the draft process where that crystallized for you?
You just look at the body of work. It's obviously there's the most scrutinized position, right, in all the sports. So I think they just look at a body of work. The game's going to be different, obviously, as you progress in the NFL. There's a lot of things that need to happen around you, too, to be successful. And I think he showed those habits. And so you're betting on what his body of work has been. And that so I don't know if there wasn't like a one moment, but just throughout the whole process and as you really evaluated and watched him play, and gave you a lot of conviction.
What have you seen from Kyle Pitts these last few weeks? I know it seemed like he was maybe not 100% healthy those first few weeks, and just what you can.
Yeah, I think, it's like I said, it's a long journey. Talking about a guy that, came into the league with unbelievable hype, damn near broke every rookie record. It's a guy, unfortunately, last season, and I think I've said this many times, it's a long journey back. But where Kyle is so encouraging is because you asked me a question about Dez, how you handle that. Everybody's different. Everybody do what's best for them. But you appreciate the guys that are, like, working through it. And it'd be easy to make excuses. It'd be easy to blame them than that. And that's why we love Kyle, and that's why we drafted him. And then, again, his best days are ahead of him. So that's in any game, there's ebbs and flows. So that's what you appreciate, and it'll happen sooner or later.
Do you feel like physically he's kind of where he was that rookie year?
That's hard for me to say. It's subjective, and again, that's a better question for him. But I appreciate him, and I appreciate his toughness. I appreciate the way he approaches work every day and comes in here. And we got a lot of guys like that. That gives me a lot of conviction about this team. And obviously we got to go do it Sunday.
Oh yeah, Coach. Just looking at Robinson's carries, that was a career high. Is that trending upward, or you?
Well, same thing. It's a
It's
long journey, and like I said early in the season, like I said, it's a 17-game season, and the guys are, to me, has exceeded our expectations. And a lot of times, it's the little things that you guys don't see that I think he's mature beyond his years. Like all of us, we love to be undefeated. We'd love to score 500 touchdowns. But he's a guy that continues to work, and he understands too. That's why it's important you have the right veterans around him. So when you go through ups and downs, as anybody does, as he fought through them, and I think what you saw was a lot what you kind of saw early in the year too. It just how it divvies out, like he's going to have a huge role in our game plan.
Does Ryan, having been there, give you any more insight on that team than you already have playing them twice a year?
I think you're painting a picture of some things, but they've got really good coaches, and things change so quickly in this league. You go back and look at some things that were trending a certain way week 1, week 2, and then, it's maybe something got to happen that you got to fix, and then, it kind of goes. So what I'm going with is that it's just like right after I left Tennessee. If we had played them that next year, there's some familiarity, but there are a lot of smart coaches in there, and they tweak things. The personnel changes a little bit. They have a certain identity, clearly, that they've had on defense. That Dennis has been over there. They got some really good vets. But at the end of the day, they know who they are. This game's going to come down to who prepares, and ultimately when that ball gets kicked off, not going to change. If you execute well, handle situation, take care of the football, that's who's going to win. And how you prepare, regardless of what kind of inside information you think you got. Sometimes you can go chase ghost, and they've adapted too. Like you forget they have a say, and sometimes people lose how. I don't know if it's respect or delusion about how good the other side is, and they have a say too. So we got a healthy respect. It's a big rivalry game. We need to win this game. I'm sure they feel the same way.
You just said that Deshaun has exceeded your expectations. I guess where did you think maybe versus what you've seen?
I think it's the volume, some of the nuance and stuff he handles. I think, how he's handled every day too. That's a long journey. Those guys, you tell them all the time. I've said many times, with time, that draft process, it's not just physically, it's just mentally sometimes. These guys get exhausted. Here we are, and you got a whole season left, basically. Think about that perspective-wise, and you're hoping that you want to play in the postseason. And every game is the intensity of a huge rivalry game too. And that's not discrediting anything in college, so don't take that the wrong way. It's just the practical reality of the NFL. It's like, why everybody gets surprised all of a sudden. It's like, all right, well, team's got one, whatever. Team's got 10 wins. We've seen it every year. Team may have 12 wins and then they lose. The team has 2. It's because it's the NFL, and it's like you better be on point. Every game's huge, and so that's where it is. It's just the day-to-day, the stuff he's handled and handled really well.
Was there a specific example of that maybe stands out that you didn't necessarily expect?
I guess that's going to sound like I was something short, but you expect more of maybe a rookie fatigue at some point, and I had certainly not seen that from him.
The run defense numbers past 3 games weren't what they've been previously. Obviously, the easiest thing to do is say, oh, it's grading. But here's kind of when you look below the surface, what are you seeing that you can fix? And
Yeah.
how much is grading not being there?
Well, I mean, it's not sometimes the plays that Grady makes, like right at the point of attack, but sometimes it's the other thing he brings. I'll say this, forever. He's one of the best natural leaders I've been around, and a lot of it is because you look at him and he's done it at a high level for a long time, and he continues to do that, and I think that's rare. And he's a real dude in that regard, and so guys kind of gravitate towards him. And he's one of those guys. He's out there. It's full tilt, and you better be on his level. And we have great guys in there, but so yeah, maybe some of it. And then the practical reality is, regardless of what the call is, you talk about fundamentals, things that as the season goes on, it wears down. Like, goes sometimes back to the basics, and a lot of it's been tackling. Like, you go back to the Tennessee game, it's the extra yards, some of those dirty runs that were 2 yards. All of a sudden, they get 3 or 4 more because it's not tackling as well as you had been, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's 2nd and 2. They stop in there, it's 3rd and 2, different situation, and it's 3rd and 11. So kind of, so that's happened a few times. So it does, yeah, because we've done it, and I believe in our guys, and some of it is getting back to basics, fundamentals, and things like that.
I want to go back to the rookie fatigue thing that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had talked for, what was the first probably 3, 4, 5 weeks season, why you managed him and
Mm-hmm.
use him. At what point did you maybe realize that wasn't going to be a factor, especially because so much of the conversation again here had been about his usage for.
Sure. I mean, like, you can argue, go back to Green Bay, and it was like, hey, are you using them too much? Like, that space isn't sustainable. And then things happen, right? And then, so as you're going through it, and then maybe people, once they've seen what he's doing, then they may focus on him a little more, or try to take him away, and what you're using him maybe early in the season is somewhere, and so you adapt and whatnot. And then certain games, like, are outliers, like the Tampa game, where all of a sudden, his usage was down, and Tyler and CP got hot, and then obviously he came back in the game at a critical point. I still think he affected it. So then, that kind of skews a lot of things too. And then depending on the situation, when you get more 2-minute or whatever it is. So there's a lot of different reasons, but he's a huge part of the game plan. To me, it's like what he can handle, and you try not to do too much to overload one player, but he's very unique in that regard for a young player.
From your perspective as a coach, this is kind of related to the being optimistic, or maybe more just being objective about what is good and what is bad in a given game. But when you're on a stretch like this, these like 3 games, 3 really close losses, do you feel like remind players that it was so close that it was a matter of a play here, a play there makes the difference, or do they kind of innately understand that?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to be practical about it, but you're also too. It's like, yeah, the flip side of it. Like, again, if you come down and you make a play late, do you relax and get complacent? I think that's kind of your job. I think it's sometimes people, and what gets exposed in this league too, is that you can't handle success. And you hear people talk about, oh, we got to lock back in or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to it, but at the end of the day, we've got to find that. We got to make those next couple of plays. So it's being practical without being super pessimistic. And there is a fine balance there because it is easier. It's like you talk about human psychology. Like, I believe it was you, right, D-Led? You asked me the Taysom Hill plays. As soon as you brought his name up, I thought about the run he had, game 1 last year. I'm like, you start thinking about the pass he hit, and it's like, why does your brain function that way? It's like, you know what I mean? You just focus on the bad things sometimes, and you're trying to have that perspective. It's messed up. Maybe I'm more messed up than other people, but you can clearly make that case. So, yeah, I think that's easier to focus on sometimes. And I think you do have to look at it, say, all right, what is going to be the difference? Like, how do you close that gap to make that one more play? Maybe it is that one more play in the red zone where you're not, you got to execute better, or you got to do something different, and it's a difference in 4 points. Right? It could have been there. Could have been a third down stop, missed a tackle, extended the drive that led to 3 points there. So it's like a lot of little things that add up because you are close. And I've been the other way where you're trying to sell air because you're losing by 21 and there's horrendous football being played. And so, yeah, I think you have to have the perspective without trying to be too the other way. You don't want to be everything's fine, or you don't want to be the guy that's down here like the world's ending.
Over this portion of time when Desmond hasn't been starting, is there anything that you've seen him lock in on or hone in on or just focus on?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Some of them that I'll keep private, and then there's things that I think that shows you what you love about him. It's like everybody. Like, everybody wants to get in front of the parade when it's going well, players and coaches. So when it's not, one, you got to realize how fortunate you are to do what you love. You don't want to lose that part. And you're going to find out who you are. You are. And that's what you love about this game, because it's a true test of adversity. It's not human adversity. Trust me, we get paid and we get to do, we're in an awesome profession, and there's people that, most of the world, that's struggle. So that, perspective there. But adversity, I guess professional adversity, not like life adversity. So I do want to go on the record and say that. But you find out what you're really made of, who you are. And that's what's refreshing about those guys in the locker room and the staff.
Coach, how is Richie Grant's assessment, the self-scout?
Like a lot of our guys, we all, they care. And I think sometimes, too, you got to not let people be too pessimistic or, those guys care. And you got a lot of belief in Richie. And, again, what happens is, you give up a play and at a critical time, it's easy to get down. But there's a lot of other things. You lose sight of the good things. It's all right. How do you go in there and how do we fix this? So it's not like there's 70, plays in a game like that. But yeah, those get highlighted, and got a lot of confidence in them.
Coach, just a couple of festive questions. Obviously, what do you have to be thankful for this year?
Well, a lot of things. One, family. Lucky. You talk about getting to do this, and yeah, that'd be one. Two would be that I get to do this job and get to work with the people you work with, because it truly is like refreshing coming in here every day. So, yeah, a lot. Health, all that stuff.
What's your Thanksgiving plate look like, and what's the respective number of plates?
You say that because I'm fat?
Get back up there with me.
When you're an old lineman, you appreciate that kind of humor. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, can you get canceled for saying you like pumpkin pie or was it pecan pie? Like, I'll have probably a second helping of that.
Coach, outside of it just being a division game and the importance of that, is there a uniqueness to this rivalry with this particular franchise? Because generations have
Sure.
kind of, battled here with families
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic, the situation is like, regardless, it's going to look different by the end of the year, right, how we finish this, but it's a huge game. I mean, it lines up. We got them at home. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on around the game, which will be cool. And you want to be a part of big games that matter, and this is right now, right? Because it's our next game. It's the biggest game of our season so far, and it happens to be the Saints, which is awesome. So there's a lot of history here. We would call it bitter rivalry. Yeah, it'll be what you want to see. So we're gonna, like I said, we'll find out Sunday. We're excited to play them. I'm sure they're saying the same thing.
Coach, you mentioned kind of the pregame. I know you're a Memphis guy, maybe more of a 3-6, but is there somebody in that pregame concert that makes you wish you could get out there and watch them?
The nostalgia.
Yeah, let's say the Atlanta. Yeah, Luda.
Yeah, I think we'll luckily I get to talk to most of those guys on Saturdays. They're doing their rehearsal, and we'll be down there. So it'll be cool to have all those people. Like I said, try not to get nostalgia. There's definitely a connection, Bright, Memphis, and it'd be cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you taking the whole team down? Is that, like, they gonna get to watch the sound check or whatever that's happening?
Not the sound check. We just sometimes our pregame routines, we go down there. This just happens to be one of those Saturdays we're going down there. Yeah, we've done it probably half the season. Something we started last year. Again, that Mercedes-Benz is so busy, you know, with United or all kind of big events. But we've had opportunities, like when you guys have come down in the spring, we've had OTAs down there. It's just trying to get familiar with the territory and being in the city. And just happens to line up that we're down there Saturday.
Anything else?
Scott, got nothing?
All set.
Got a big night plan?
Big night plan? Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch some Charlie Brown special with the kids and go to bed by 9:30.
A little different than it was 20 years ago, huh? Rob, thank you.
Thank you.